How's it going, YouTube? This is Skull, and this is a life-size 3D printed Cubone. So I recently purchased my very first 3D printer, an Ender 3, and I decided to make this my very first 3D print project. I love how it turned out, and I made sure to document the process, so hope you enjoy the video. So here I am in Blender, and what I have here in front of me is Cubone's actual model that was used in the main series Pokemon games. So every Pokemon game since Pokemon X and Y has used this exact model to make Cubone into a Pokemon. It took me a while of learning how to rig a skeleton and use Blender overall, but I finally came out with this. So this is my Cubone pose. Yeah, I just really like this pose. It's pretty close to the official art of Cubone, which I'm just going to put on the left of your screen right now. So yeah, really close, and I just like this as it is. I ended up making the skull 12 pieces total just so that I could print it in nice high definition detail. And the rest of the body, I think, is 9 pieces, just printed as large of pieces as possible that would fit on my print bed. And then put them together, sand everything down, and paint it. So, yeah. That's just a little bit of a look at the process that I did when I was getting Cubone ready to print. So, as you can see here, I have the skull. It's pretty much done. It's all put together. I will, of course, need to fill in the seams with Bondo and then sand it down and paint it, but as far as, printing all the parts and putting it together, it's done. And as you can see, it's really sturdy. It's not going to be falling apart anytime soon. So yeah. So, as you can see here, this is what you do when you need to combine several pieces into one giant piece. You use Bondo, and then you sand all the Bondo flat. I actually bought this palm sander just to make my job a little bit easier while doing this, and let me tell you, it was such a good thing that I did. I definitely put on way too much Bondo to fill in these pieces, but that's okay because I knew I could always sand it down later. And you'd rather put in too much than too little. So yeah, it took me a while to sand it down, but by the time I did, as you can see, it came out looking really nice. This is actually after I sanded it and then hit it with some filler primer. There's still some places for me to try and touch up, but I'll go ahead and do that off camera. I'm just really happy with how this looks. It's hard for me to believe that at one point this was nothing more than a few spools of filament that I 3D printed. As you can see here, just more 3D printing. I wanted to set up more 3D print video, but I just couldn't be bothered. Anyway, of course, after the skull, you gotta do the body. This body is made up of 8 pieces, and as you can see, there's a whole lot of polygons, just like the in-game model has. But luckily, thanks to my sander, I can polish those out and make it look a whole lot nicer. The main thing to do now is, of course, to fill in all of those seams with more Bondo and then sand it down, which I did off camera, and now to hit it up with some filler primer. And what this does is it gives the surface a nice coating just to make sure that I have all of the little seams filled and that the surface more or less looks uniform. And this process takes several cycles. Sand down, fill, prime, sand down, fill, prime, over and over again until it looks good. And, well, I'm pretty happy with the result right here, but as you can see, there are still quite a few places where I need to fill in some seams and to smooth out some areas, especially here on the bottom, where there's just a whole lot of cracking from the Bondo and a lot of flaking, and it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look like a Pokemon. So I actually found that the best way to fill in those seams is with a little bit of wood filler. And I'm definitely going to be using wood filler in the future over Bondo, but I'll definitely use Bondo as well. So anyway, of course, after all of that's done, now comes time to paint. So yeah, I am incredibly happy with how this turned out. It is absolutely gorgeous. I did learn quite a few things along the way that I will definitely apply for my future 3D print projects. I want to give a huge shout out to my sister who provided the paint for the eyes and the paint pen as well. Link to her Etsy shop is in the description. She sells some pretty amazing stuff. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I will definitely be making more 3D print projects in the future. I would love to print more Pokemon, but in the meantime, I've got something else planned. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.